Hi guys, I'm going to start a few videos that break down the steps to make a room out of nature in which to put your jar. So this is a bit of a tricky edit, but I think you guys are, in fact I know you guys are up for the challenge. So what I'm going to do is kind of walk you through it bit by bit. Rather than making one long thing, I'll just make a few videos. The first thing I'd have you note when you're looking at this is that I've got a square for the shape of my canvas, so we'll begin with that. And you want to work, I think for this one, you'll want to work high res. Now, many of you might note that when you're working with Photopea, and if you have a really large size document, it could glitch and it can be problematic. Don't do what I'm doing here and have like a bunch of tabs open and minimize your bandwidth being taken up by too much other stuff. I'm going to encourage you to work fairly large on this so it looks really good. In addition, you should see that my rulers are up, and that's going to help in the early stages of this to do some basic measurements. And you can see that I've got a 12-inch by 12-inch canvas. So let's start with that. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new document here. And I want it to be pretty big. So File, New. If you don't go exactly to 12 inches, I suppose that'd be okay. I'm going to measure it in inches. In fact, just for the sake of argument, let's go a little bit smaller. We'll make it 10 by 10. And in this case, I'm going to make the resolution, let's make it, I don't know, I'm going to make it 300, just because I really like this project, and I might want to print this out personally. I think it's really cool. So if I want to print stuff out, I'm going to work at a very high resolution. And this is also a good time to name it. So we'll name it World in a Room. And if I was really doing this right, I'd name it the way that I tell you guys to name it. So, F Jack dash world in a room. Okay. And create. So again, if you don't have your rulers showing, make sure you do show your rulers. Go to the window view menu, where it says rulers, make sure that's checked. And that'll bring up your rulers. Now, when you see the rulers, it might not be measuring it out in inches. And if you right-click on your ruler, you can see those options there and how your measurement is. So make sure you're looking at your ruler in inches. Then the first step is really to put the sky. Sky is what we're going to make the walls out of. And it doesn't have to be a sky, by the way. It has to be an environment. It's a scene. It could be a scene of a jungle, or I'll leave it up to you. The natural world that you put on as your walls does not have to be sky. So find a good quality image, though. It's got to be high resolution, high res. A good source for that is this website called Unsplash, unsplash.com. It gives you free, fair use, high resolution images. I don't know why I haven't mentioned this to you guys before. It's a good resource if you didn't know about it. Here I just typed in sky in the search bar of Unsplash, and there's quite a few. I would recommend that you also think about the whether it's horizontal or vertical. For our purposes, a horizontal image like this would work much better. And you also might select part of an image. Like this one, might not want the ocean, but I might like the sky. I could just bring in this photo and select the sky out of it. I happen to like that image I was on a minute ago. This one right here is kind of dramatic, so I think it'll work, even though it's really high contrast. I'm probably not going to use the ground, but I think this would work for me. So I could get it into Photopea a couple ways. One way would be to save the images as and then download it, and that's probably a good idea, just have a backup of it, and certainly you can copy and paste it in. So in this case, I'm just going to go copy the image and go over to Photopea and edit and paste. Simple as that. Actually, and out of curiosity, just to see this, notice that this size that it pasted it in relation to the size of my canvas is not that big. So I'm wondering if I did download this image, would it be a better quality and bigger image? Because this thumbnail that they give you might not be exactly the same. So that's something to consider, is make sure you're getting the best quality that you can. So here it is in my downloads. I'm just going to pull that over to my desktop. It'll let me. Come on, man. Or I need to do exit out of this thing. Let me just go over to Photopea and open it like that. So File, Open. open in place. Let's see if the downloaded version is better than the copy-pasted version. Okay, where are you? There we go. Ah, that's way better. Let's take this other one out. We definitely don't want that. So that shows you an important lesson. How you get your images into Photopea makes a difference. Sometimes copying and pasting is fine, you know what I mean, depending on the kind of thing that you want. In this case, because I want the best possible resolution and quality I can get, then I'm going to do it this way. Notice it's a smart object, by the way, too, rather than, so it means it's protecting this image from being destroyed. In order to mess with it much, I'm going to have to rasterize it. In fact, rather than doing that, I'm going to just copy and paste up from it so I kind of have a backup that I'm not going to mess with, which is a smart idea always. So first thing I'm going to do is select the part that I want. So I really just want this top portion of this scene. It doesn't. The shape doesn't matter too much here. You can be a little bit creative here. So I think I want that much. Make sure you're on the right layer. I'm going to copy that up to a new layer. Command J, you should know, is the way to do that. When I copy up, this is not a smart object, which means I can mess with it. This is protected below. I'm just going to hide that bottom layer. And now is the way to make the walls of your room. First things first, we're going to put this all the way to the top of our image. And this is now going to be selected for my walls. So I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to grab a rectangle. And I'm looking at this little white line at the top, so I get my measurement. And I just want 3 inches. And if you're, a little bit off, this will not hurt you. Rather than bending this image and distorting it, I could do one of two things. Either I can copy this selection up to its own layer, or I could duplicate the image again. I don't like messing up. I don't like destroying pixels. I really don't. So I like to copy up and destroy those pixels so I have a backup, or duplicate this whole layer. Either way. So in this case, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate the whole gosh darn layer. Just in case I change my mind, this gives me flexibility. So duplicate the layer. Now what you're going to do is you're going to distort this image. And the way to do that is pretty easy. Right click, free transform, right click again. And you see an option there to distort. We haven't messed with this before. What it does is it lets you grab these corners and pull them independently. So if I were to now, let me fit this on my screen so you can see more better. In fact, let me zoom out a little bit too. View, zoom out. If I were to grab this corner here, I could pull it and yank it around. Notice I could sort of pull it all over the place, which I don't want to do that. I want to be careful where I'm pulling it. So if you want to constrict that it's pulling straight down, I believe if you hold the shift key, you'll find that it locks it into straight down pull. And that's exactly what I want. And that is all there is to it. So I'm going to repeat that process on the other side. Take my rectangular selection tool, come over here from this corner, bring it out to 3 inches over, and right click, free transform, right click, and distort. Now I'm going to grab that corner, hold the shift key, and pull it all the way down until I get to the bottom corner. And voila, I have created the walls, 3 walls of my room. And this will become the floor. Now, this is where you can start getting creative. You might notice that in the image that I have over here, I added some texture and you too. And I have some various degrees of light and shadow on these walls, which gives it that really sense of being 3-dimensional. And this image is not yet fully realized that you can tell that. So there's a few things you could do. An easy one would be to select and add an adjustment. So if I select this wall here and I add an adjustment layer, let's say levels or brightness and contrast, for example, I could say this wall is going to be a hair brighter. Just a little change like that is all that you need to say this wall is getting hit by light from a source differently than the other 3 walls. So this is kind of one thing that I do just to add some spice. Select these. And you can see that it just really makes a big difference. So what I do is I make sure that every wall has a slightly different tonality to it, just to indicate that there's a difference between how they're getting hit by light. Simple as that. Now the other thing is giving these walls rather, some character. And that's going to involve one of two things. Either you can download a brush and you can get like a grungy brush and give your wall some character that way, or you might even find images. You know, do a Google search of grungy textures or old wall textures, and you can use an image as well to give these walls some really there-ness, some physicality, because we want to perceive these surfaces as surfaces that you can touch and feel, and just having the picture of the sky on there is enough. It's almost like it's just like smooth, and giving it some real character sort of gives it more convincing believability. Let's do the same thing with levels here, or I don't know. I used brightness contrast before. Levels works just the same. Let's bring the midtones down a little bit. Maybe I'll up the darkness. Maybe I'll just make this side a little darker in general. And I'll leave the middle wall as I had it in the first place. And that looks great. Right there is the beginnings of my room. In fact, I'm going to stop here just for the sake of time, because the bell rang. Get ready for my next class. I'm going to stop here. I think this is a good place to start making the walls using one photo and then selecting each side and distorting it using the Shift key so that you bring down that distortion straight down to the corner. And then maybe using a couple adjustment layers to give a little variance of light and dark to the walls so it seems that they're more dimensional and more believable. So hopefully this first step didn't seem too hard. This first step is rather easy and kind of fun. Get a good picture and have some fun with it.